Let's talk about dirt. The dirt we get on the tracks that our trains run on. Now, I built a rather nifty little track cleaning wagon here. This is using parts from 10 Commandments underneath a Daypole van wide. You can see just pushing it backwards and forwards on this O-gauge layout. Even though the layout's pretty clean, the track is pretty dirty. And this is a problem for us because obviously our trains pick up their power through the rails, through the wheels, and any dirt can get in the way of that. So what can we do about it? Let's start with what you don't need for track cleaning. What you really don't need is a coarse abrasive pad, or indeed any sort of coarse abrasive, because what will happen is you'll clean your track up and you'll scratch the top surface of the rail, microscopically, but you'll scratch the top surface of the rail, and those scratches will attract dirt and they will hold dirt. So that will actually make your layout worse rather than better. And I would suggest the other thing you don't need is you don't need a bottle of methylated spirits or lighter fuel. I know they were popular ways of cleaning your track years ago. I think we can probably do a bit better now. Don't need to make your room all smelly and inflammable. Let's just stick with some slightly safer options. Right, now I am a bit old school. I like track rubbers. Here's a Pico one, well worn, Pico available everywhere, and this one is one of my favourites. It's through the Double O-Gauge Association. They're both mild abrasives, but unlike your scratching pad or your abrasive pad, the abrasive is softer than the surface of the rail, so it won't mark it. And all you do is you just rub it backwards and forwards across the top of the rails, and that will polish things up rather nicely. It's not rocket science, this stuff. Now, I used to do this when I was exhibiting. I would do this every morning of a show. I admittedly only had a 6-foot long layout, but I would do this before every morning of every show because it made the running so much better. Anyway, the options there are, so there's a couple there, Pico and Duga, and there are other track cleaners out there. And the only downside to these is that they can leave little bits of themselves on the track, so you can actually occasionally see little sparkles from your track rubber when it's rubbed off and sat in the track. The other problem is, and especially with this one, if you've got any oil or grease on the track, you can actually contaminate the track rubber, so it just smears dirt around rather than actually cleaning it off. So it's worth bearing in mind. That said, for post-layout building time, when you've got little bits of PVA and dirt from the scenic work on the track, I don't think you can beat track rubber. If you've really got PVA on the track or something hard, try rubbing a piece of wood like an old lolly stick or a chip fork over it just to clean it up, and then polish up with the track rubber, but don't use anything metal. Perhaps a little more sophisticated is one of these products. This one's called Rail Zip, and what you do is you take the top off, you squirt a little bit of the stuff onto a cotton bud, and you can see that pink stuff all over the cotton bud there, and then you clean the track with the cotton bud. Now, this, according to the bottle and according to people who really love this stuff, what it does is it not only cleans your track, and you can see even on the clean stuff it's grey, we're getting some grey out of that already. Not only does it clean it, it puts a protective coating or something on the track that stops it getting dirty and keeps it cleaner for longer. Now, I have not scientifically tested it, but I do know people whose opinions I respect, and they swear by this stuff. They clean their layout with it and it stays clean. Now, you might think that, are you just being a little bit pedantic here, Phil? But of course, you've got to look at the area of pickup on the average loco. Tiny little patches of metal wheel touching the track. It doesn't take a lot to interrupt them. This is bad enough on DC, but if you've got DCC and you've got sound fitted in your locos, then that's a real problem because the sound will be interrupted, and sometimes the loco will stop and then go back into restart mode, so you have to listen to the engine spooling up, and it's all very, very frustrating. A stay alive can solve that problem, but really a stay alive should be something that you use as a kind of last resort. Clean the track first, so stay alive has to do as little work as possible. Anyway, there we are, quick look at that. Rail zip is lovely, but I know what you're saying to yourself, Phil, I'm not buying all that rail zip stuff. What do you want to, what can I do that will do it even cheaper? Well, the good news is that a few years ago when I was down in Australia, where they have the most enormous layouts that really do not want to involve cleaning one of these, waving one of these around for a long time, what they all do is they put graphite on their rails. So, you know, ordinary pencil lead. They rub it backwards and forwards on the rails, especially, they actually tend to do this in a fiddle yard. And what they do is once you've rubbed the graphite on the rails, they run the locos backwards and forwards, and the locos will then smear they'll then smear the graphite around. And they'll smear it around all over the layout. And I am told that if you do this often enough, you simply never clean your track because the graphite does all the work for you, in the same way that the rail zip stuff does. Now, it's your choice. The thing about track cleaning is we all have our favourite ways of doing it. Me, track rubber. Other people, Australians, they're in the land down under, they love a bit of graphite on their track. Other people, they like the rail zip. And each of us has our own favourite way of doing it. But the important thing is keep your track clean. It'll make operating a lot more entertaining because you're not constantly poking and prodding locomotives, and you'll enjoy your modelling a whole lot more. Happy modelling.